Throughout human history, societies have struggled with complex power dynamics, and that struggle often manifests in toxic structures that rely heavily on this archetype of the scapegoat. This pattern is deeply embedded in religion, politics, and in our relationships. The scapegoat becomes a vessel for collective fear, guilt, or failure, and it allows the majority to maintain the illusion of purity while projecting their inner chaos onto a chosen other. The soul trap matrix relies on labels that create separation and linear thinking. And by assigning fixed roles as hero or villain or chosen and cursed and so on, what we do is we reduce multi-dimensional souls into binary identities that are the products of dualistic programming. And duality is the foundation of the soul trap. In traditional religious symbolism, this is seen in the image of the sacrificial lamb. And then we also have the flock that represents the collective of believers who follow a doctrine that reinforces hierarchy and obedience. Christ is the ultimate scapegoat or the innocent lamb of God. And as we all know, he burdens all of humanity's sin. And this story is framed and presented to us as salvation, but it subtly reinforces the idea that someone must be punished for the system to survive. But the Gnostics cleverly flip this entire narrative. In the Gospel of Judas, Jesus reveals secret teachings to Judas about the nature of reality, and he explains to him that the physical world was created by a false god known as the Demiurge, and that this lesser god keeps humanity trapped in ignorance and suffering by binding souls to a material system and thus creating a soul trap. Jesus also explains that liberation can only be achieved by escaping this spiritual prison. But most strikingly in the Gospel of Judas, Judas's betrayal is reframed as a heroic act of devotion. And Jesus himself asks Judas to free his spirit by handing him over to the authorities to be crucified. And in that context, Judas then becomes a collaborator in helping Jesus transcend his physical form and escape the soul trap. And instead of betrayal, Judas's actions are presented as a necessary sacrifice that is born of deep wisdom and courage. The Gospel of Judas teaches us that making individuals such as Judas, the scapegoat and the ultimate villain who is responsible solely for betraying Jesus, is actually a misunderstanding and a dangerous oversimplification. And by traditionally placing all of the blame entirely on Judas, society again creates a really comfortable illusion where difficult and complex truths are projected onto one single individual. And this prevents deeper self-reflection and maintains this harmful cycle of blame and victimhood. The dangers of scapegoating is clear. It encourages people to view the world in really simplistic terms of good versus evil, hero versus villain, and so on, rather than recognizing the nuanced reality of human behavior. The Gospel of Judas also invites us to remember who else contributed to Jesus's death beyond Judas. So there was also the religious authorities and Pontius Pilate. There were Christ's disciples and the followers who had previously supported him. All of those individuals and groups stood by and let the crucifixion happen. Scapegoating Judas symbolizes a broader societal pattern. Whenever we label someone as the enemy or outsider, we risk fueling division, hatred, and misunderstanding. And this doesn't just happen in religious stories. Scapegoating plays out in politics, it plays out in the workplace, and it happens in our relationships, because that is how the soul trap perpetuates itself. Ultimately, leaving dualistic thinking behind helps us dismantle the core programming that maintains the soul trap so that we can get out. Thanks for watching.